All right, well, you should know by now that when I start the RR show that I'm going to ask you to share the show. So please do that. Thank you. All right, let's start the show. It's r/ProRevenge for the whole episode today. Let's do it. The first story of the episode comes from On This Our Day. Oh, I played the long game. I am by no means an expert or pro at revenge, but I am a patient person. I disclosed this to a friend and they directed me here. Throwaway for obvious reasons. It's a long read, but the setup and backstory are important. 7 years ago, I was lucky enough to be able to buy my own place. I had saved for 10 years, worked my ass off, and I was so happy to be able to have a place to call my own. Now, being a single person on the mortgage meant I had to make compromises. One such compromise was buying a property on a shared block, a lot cheaper. Where I'm from, this usually means it's on the strata title. For some, that's a bonus, as it means there is a communal fund for repairs. Typically, insurance is cheaper as it's collective, and other things like maintenance being taken care of. Strata titles also come with a lot of bylaws and restrictions on what you can and cannot do. I'm a pretty private and introverted person, so having to deal with people and have limits on how I was to live was a no-no. I took my time, found the perfect property, shared block but freehold title. Only thing was I needed to pay public liability insurance for the shared walkway on the property, split equally between the owners. The real estate agent is local to my area. There's also about 3 degrees of separation between us. He has friends who are friends with my friends, that type of thing. I didn't know him, but knew of him, so that sort of felt good too. About 5 months after I move in, I get a knock on the door from the owner, the landlord, of the property next to me to discuss insurance. Not a problem, I ask for a copy of the policy so I have a record. It gets sent through, and lo and behold, it's for strata insurance. I was incredibly confused after much back and forth. The property isn't a freehold title, but a strata title. I called my lawyer who conveyed the title, etc. He was dumbfounded, but over it all, they did the right thing and made it as right as they could. I arranged for a meeting with the real estate agent. I brought emails and printouts of the ads saying it all was freehold. Emails between the real estate agent. Despite it being an absolute black and white, he refused to accept any fault or offer anything to make things right. I don't begrudge that. He's looking out for himself. I get that. However, I wouldn't forget it. I did enter into mediation with the real estate agent, and all I asked for was, when the time came for me to sell, they'd do it or cover the costs. I thought this was reasonable, but they flat out refused and offered me $1,000 to go away, which I refused. I had the option to pursue them legally and was advised by the mediator to do so, but ultimately I decided against it for a few reasons, the main one being my health at the time. So I planned and plotted, and I schemed and connived as to how to get back. And I settled on this. I found his personal Facebook page, which wasn't set up to private. I saw some photos of a boys on tour trip he went a few weeks prior, so about 5 to 6 months after I bought the property. I also found his address through a business registration search. On the anniversary of the sale, for 6 years straight, I sent them flowers with a note. Dear real estate agent, remembering you on this, our special day. She has your eyes. Love, Ellie. They varied ever so slightly over the years, but always had an on this our special day and some weird inference to a love child and a desire to reconnect. I also from time to time arranged for postcards and letters to be sent from another country. The one he was on tour in, always signed Love, Ellie. I learned about 3 weeks ago that this guy had recently divorced, lost his home, and is not anymore working as a real estate agent. His wife had found out he cheated on her. The story I was told, though, said friends of friends, went along the lines of, He would get weird gifts and flowers every year, same day every year. She, his wife, finally put two and two together and realized what the date was, and he admitted to cheating on her. As such, our special day turned out to be right around the time that he would have been with a woman who wasn't his wife only 1 year earlier. He's apparently lost his house, half his retirement savings, and also his business. I do feel a little bit guilty about it all, but then I'm reminded that he is a scumbag. The next story comes, again, of course, from r/ProRevenge. From ZZZ Top. If you're going to steal the catalytics off my truck, you should have checked if they were actually functional first. Wasn't so funny when it was my turn. Was a fun morning at the beginning of last week, starting up my truck and waking everyone at 2:45 a.m. to learn someone swiped the hollowed out catalytic converters. The idiots missed the neighbor's cameras that basically give away who they were. It's two kids from the area who drive around in a pretty busted up police Crown Vic. I chose not to call the cops. Instead, I called one of my friends who's code enforcement and let him know what my plan was. And he relayed the info to the police that I was finally going to do a nuisance tow on that same Crown Victoria. The car they drove isn't street legal as it has no license plates or insurance or working taillights and rattles due to the trash sound system. They also spend their whole day in a chicken shack smoking. Not sure who they're getting money from, but I'm guessing stealing catalytics was part of the equation. When I spotted the car sitting on a quiet street, I called it in and got the go-ahead to tow. I took it straight to the police station and they tried to run an owner check with the VIN number, only to find that it hadn't been registered since 2011 and the owner was someone other than the kids who sold them the car with no title because all of the back registration owed. The cops said we can go ahead and take it to the junkyard till they can get a black title, aka a certificate of destruction. By then, the two idiots were running around all over town looking for their car, thinking it got stolen by one of their friends as a prank. The key lock was so worn out you could start it with any car key. They found it at the junkyard and tried to steal it by one of them distracting the owner and the other stealing their car. But the junkyard was aware of who they were, so they cut the drive shaft off beforehand. I missed out on this part, but they got arrested for trying to steal their car back, and they watched the junkyard use a crane to rip the car to shreds. When I saw it, the remains looked like a toddler just ripped it to the bare frame out of curiosity. They've been out of jail since, but haven't left their trailer. I did a drive-by earlier and noticed a beater Jeep Liberty in the driveway, also with no plates, and I'm already working with the cops on taking that too, if I see it out in public, except I won't miss the show next time. Continuing with the r/ProRevenge theme for this episode with Kindly Good 1457. The story, 401k with a side of revenge. When our first child was born, my ex forced me to quit my job. When our second child was 2, I found out about his affair. By then, he was extremely verbally, emotionally, and sometimes physically abusive. When he abused our firstborn, I put him out. This was in 2012. I couldn't afford daycare to work and had no family to support me. He refused to give me any money to take care of the kids, saying the courts haven't ordered me to give you a dime. He lied to the bank and had my accounts frozen and even assaulted me when I filed for default in the divorce. The judge finally ordered him to pay child and spousal support 6 months after I kicked him out. It was $2,562 a month. He refused to pay it until the garnishment kicked in, and by then he was $6,000 behind in child support. I remarried a year after the divorce. I checked the court docs and there was a little box that said spousal support stopped upon remarriage, if that box was checked. It wasn't checked, so I figured I was good. Instead of filing for his retirement, I just took that year of spousal support, $12K, and left it alone. Spousal support was only ordered for 2 years. In 2017, he filed for sole custody of the kids out of nowhere. That was when he found out I had remarried and he had paid spousal support to me during the first year of my marriage. I told him I took that money instead of filing for my share of his retirement. I said if he let me keep that $12,000, I wouldn't file to split his 401k. He demanded that I repay the spousal support. The judge ordered me to repay it, but increased child support and deducted the repayment from that. It ended up that I got an extra $20 a month, and he repaid himself. He dropped his bid for custody in exchange for the 2 weeks extra in the summer. I pursued the retirement account split. He refused to cooperate, and it dragged out for 4 years. It was so bad they sanctioned him, and he had to pay me $600 a month for a year in addition to child support. They also charged him with contempt. In January of 2021, he proposed to his girlfriend. In May of 2021, I finally got the disbursement from his 401k. I won't say how much it was, but it was about 4 times the amount of spousal support overpayment. I had no idea it would be that much. I had thought it would be around $12,000, which is why I thought keeping that year of spousal and not filing for his retirement account was a fair trade. Had he not tried to take the kids from me, I would have never filed to split that account. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. His fiance emailed me recently and told me that it is my fault he won't marry her because I cleaned out his retirement account. She said I shouldn't have the stolen money. I told her that I gave him the option to let me keep that year of spousal support or take it back, and I could file for his retirement. He chose to have me file for his retirement. I told her that if he really wanted to marry her and protect his assets, they could get a prenup so he wouldn't have to worry about it. She said she shouldn't have to sign a prenup because I robbed him. I never asked to be financially dependent on him. He clearly indicated he wanted a court order to take care of his kids, so I got him one. I tried to be fair and take the lesser amount by taking the spousal support and not filing for his retirement. He wouldn't let me. In summary, my ex refused to pay me until support orders dropped, refused to pay until they revoked his license, tried to get me in trouble for accepting spousal support overpayment, and in the end it cost him a lot of money out of his 401k. Our final story in this ProRevenge episode comes from Seagull Fan Club. The title, Tricking My Slacker Coworker into Sabotaging Himself. I work in an office with a guy I'll call Seth. Seth is that coworker everyone knows. Lazy, always passing his work on to someone else, and somehow always getting away with it. He'll sit around on his phone or go to the bathroom every 10 minutes. He's the kind of guy who will show up late, make some lame excuse about traffic, then disappear for lunch for hours. For the past 6 months, Seth's favorite target has been me. He'll send emails asking if I can help out with a project, but what he really means is do all the work while I take the credit. I complained to my boss a couple of times, but somehow Seth always managed to weasel his way out of trouble. The final straw came when he passed off a major report that was due to a client in 2 days, dumping it on me last minute. One day, I casually asked him if he was good with Excel, and he admitted he didn't know much about it. Perfect. The next time Seth tried to dump a bunch of spreadsheets on me to organize for his next report, I agreed. But this time, I embedded a series of hidden formulas into the documents. These formulas didn't do anything important, but just enough to mess with the numbers if someone didn't know how to check for hidden cells. It took me a little time, but I was careful to not make it too obvious. The kicker? Every time Seth tried to copy and paste the data into his report, it would scramble everything just enough to be completely useless. On the day the report was due, Seth slacked off like usual, assuming I had handled it like always. When the client called, furious because the report was filed with nonsense numbers, Seth panicked. He rushed to fix it, but every time he tried to fix one part of the report, something else would break. He came to me, frantic, asked for help. I acted confused and said, I don't know, what happened? Like, maybe it's a glitch. I gave him some vague advice and watched as he spent the entire day trying to salvage his mess. Our boss found out, and for once, Seth could not talk his way out of it. He got lambasted for screwing up such an important project and was put on temporary leave without pay. I guess he'll be doing his own work from now on.
So thanks for being with us. The RR Show is a production of Evergreen Podcasts and Wessler Media. Now, if you'd be so kind, please follow or subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're feeling extra nice, you might as well leave a 5-star review. But for more, visit the website, rrshow.com. That is rrshow.com. I'm your host, Vince. Thank you to my producer, Kevin, and we'll see you next time here on the RR Show.